Hello, folks, and welcome to Dangerous Ideas. I'm Lee Camp, the most censored comedian commentator in America. Just last week, I had my TikTok platform banned with zero warnings and zero right to appeal and zero information as to why. And that's all of that. That's like platform number 4, I think, that I've had completely deleted or banned. And all of that is because I support peace and I support sustainability and I support an equal and just world, all of those crazy things. And hopefully, if you've decided to tune in for this hour, hopefully it's because you support those things as well. And you kind of want to find the truth as to what's going on in the world. I will be talking yet again about the genocide that Israel's committing against Gaza. Today, I will spend much of the hour, point by point, going through, playing clips, and debunking the pro-Israel garbage propaganda that is out there, that is being spit out by so many people who, quote unquote, support Israel, which is a euphemism for endorsing genocide, for endorsing ethnic cleansing. I'll be going through that. And I will also I have a couple other stories as well coming your way. But please take a second to hit subscribe, hit thumbs up, all of that good stuff, because it does make a difference. If you are following on Rumble or YouTube, please make sure you hit the bell icon so that you get alerted to my videos, because otherwise you will not be alerted to my videos. All right, let's get into it. So I actually want to before I get into the point by point debunking, I will bring you just a little bit of current. Well, it's all current news, I guess. The Israeli genocide is certainly not old news. But anyway, a couple other quick updates. One is that Iraq has said they will be kicking the United States out of the country. Now, this is not the first time they've done this, but perhaps they mean it a little more this time. The Iraqi government is moving to end the U.S.-led coalition presence, which is another way of saying invasion. That's kind of the nice euphemism way of saying the U.S. is still invading, still an occupying force within Iraq. It's a coalition because the ministers, the government officials in Iraq have been pressured in one form or another. Often nowadays, it used to be bombs, but nowadays it's money. They've been pressured via money to keep some sort of U.S. presence there. And they have said they will be kicking them out. And this is yet another ramification, consequence of Israel's ongoing genocide. Iraq's prime minister said Thursday that his government is moving toward ending the presence of the U.S.-led international coalition in that country. Al-Sudani made his remarks during a joint press conference with his visiting Spanish counterpart, Pedro Sanchez. And I don't think it's any coincidence that it's a Spanish counterpart who was there at the time, because Spain also has been, to some degree, standing up to the U.S. and the U.S. support of Israel and the U.S. war that they've just declared, that the U.S. government has just declared on Yemen. They don't call it a war. They call it a special military procedure or a special operation, bomb Yemen, because Yemen is creating a blockade that is stopping both U.S. but other products, stopping things from getting into Israel, and the Houthis have attacked several ships. And that is why the U.S. is declaring this war on Yemen without calling it a war. But anyway, this is yet another ramification of the ongoing genocide by Israel. Is that Iraq, and they may actually have the ability to do it this time. I'm unclear on that, whether they'll actually be able to get U.S. forces to leave Iraq. But anyway, that has been announced. And a little update on Gaza. As you know, it's well over 21,000 people that have been murdered just in 3 months. Compare that to any other conflict that we've seen over the past several years, and it dwarfs the number of innocent civilians killed in Ukraine over almost 2 years. It dwarfs the number of innocent civilians killed in a couple of years in Afghanistan or Iraq. Or like, what Israel's doing is at least unprecedented in the past many decades. And in this amount of time, in such a small amount of time. Now, the U.S. has killed, directly or indirectly, 6 million people via the war on terror. So that is a lot more than 20,000. However, 20,000, largely innocent people within 3 months is, well, we're going to say rare. We're going to say very rare. But on top of that, they've destroyed or damaged something like 60% of the building's infrastructure. They, have cut off the food, cut off the water, cut off the medical supplies, bombed hospitals. Just today, the UN is saying that 40% of the people in Gaza are at risk of famine and dying from famine. So all of that is to kind of set the scene there for you as I start playing clips from this. I think she calls herself a journalist, Emily Austin. She was on the PBD podcast, which is very popular, millions of subscribers. And she's just spitting this kind of really unhinged pro-Israel propaganda. The Israeli term for it is Hasbara. It's just this complete garbage. And this podcast, which I think they try and play this kind of both sides thing where they'll one day let someone speak who's saying, hey, maybe genocide's bad. And then the next day they have this person, Emily Austin, on to spit out all the pro-Israel talking points. And they basically don't push back. I mean, it's some very light pushback. I don't even know if I'm going to bother to play any of it, but not even pushback. It's kind of like addendums. It's like, oh yeah, but also children, right? Like it's that kind of thing. So anyway, and I know this is going to take some time because I'll show you every 3 words she says takes about 3 minutes to debunk, not because it's hard to debunk, because there's too much to debunk. It's like 3 words and you're like, here's why that word's wrong, that word's wrong. Anyway, you'll see. I should stop explaining and just do it. Okay, so let's keep going. And again, I don't know, this matters to some people. If it matters, apparently both she and I are Jews, because I'm Jewish and she has a Jewish star around her neck. So we'll just say that's the case. Doesn't really matter, but anyway.
Shortened for destroy Israel within our lifetime. And that
so just as I don't even know if you catch it. Also, she talks fast, which I don't have a problem with people talking fast. I talk pretty fast, but when you're talking fast and you're pushing out garbage, it's like I have to play a half second before I stop it. Anyway, what she just said there is she just said that using the phrase, and she's talking about pro-Palestine people. She's talking about on college campuses, the people that are rallying for Palestinians, that are rallying against genocide. She said the phrase within our lifetime. So free Palestine within our lifetime. What she just said there was the within our lifetime means destroy Israel within our lifetime. Okay. So this is propaganda on so many levels. Someone wants me to slow it down and play it again, but also there's no jump back 10 seconds thing on YouTube. So it's actually here. Maybe this will do it.
Going around the city. For context, within our lifetime is shortened for destroy Israel within our lifetime.
Okay. So she claims that the term within our lifetime means destroy Israel within our lifetime. Now, a couple of things. One is, no, it doesn't. But besides that, the destroy Israel is actually a trick phrase. Okay, she's saying within our lifetime means destroy Israel. Well, what does destroy Israel in her mind or the Israeli government's mind mean? Well, to them, it's ending the apartheid state, because Israel, the Israeli government knows that without apartheid, without millions of people locked in the open air prisons of Gaza or the West Bank, where they are not allowed to vote, not allowed to be involved, almost any of them. There are some Palestinians involved in the U.S. political process, but they need to, did I say U.S.? Israeli political process, but Israel, in order to have their apartheid state, in order to, and I mean have their state the way they want it, to be able to oppress Palestinians this way, and I mean even pre-October 7th, they need to, their estimate is 20%. They need to have fewer than 20% Palestinians voting or involved in the system and any way in the society. So for them, and you can argue about the percentages, it doesn't really matter. The point is, they cannot have a fair democracy. If it were a fair democracy, if all of a sudden they said to West Bank and Gaza, you know what, we're having freedom, we're having equality, we're tearing down these borders, and you will be full members of this society. If they were to do that, you would quickly see that the voting, they don't have the voting numbers anymore. The system would quickly not be just a pro-Jewish, one religion state. And in case you're wondering whether it's meant to be a one religion state, the Jewish star is on the flag. So they need to have apartheid. So for them, the expression "destroy Israel," or if they hear it, or when she says it like there, that includes ending apartheid. If you say to them, Israel needs to not be an apartheid state, they hear you want to destroy Israel. Because to them, much as many of the white people in South Africa, when you said, back when there was apartheid in South Africa, if you said there needs to no longer be apartheid here, the white people heard you want to destroy South Africa, because they're viewing it as, this is working for us. This is status quo is great. We run things, we rule things, we can keep other people down and have our shit. We can be the rich people, we can steal the resources. And that is what Israel wants. So for them, ending apartheid equals destroy Israel, because for them, oppression and persecution and extraction is the system of Israel. So, but the reason they use destroy Israel in kind of a confusing way is because it's useful to them, right? If she says to you, if you say Palestinians will be free within our lifetime, and she then says, well, that means you want to destroy Israel, that all of a sudden that sounds anti-Semitic. It sounds like genocide. It sounds like ethnic cleansing. It makes you the bad guy by using a trickery of wordplay to act like ending apartheid is destroying Israel. So that's what she's doing. Okay. That was 3 words, but let's try to continue.
And that's their goal. And it's not just Israel.
Also, when she says that's their goal, she is intentionally making their vague. She wants you to think that there is anybody who criticizes Israel, anybody who he says Israel has done anything wrong. I don't even mean people who say it shouldn't be an apartheid anymore. I mean people who say, hey, stop indiscriminately bombing. Oh, well, that's them. That's all of them. Their goal is to destroy Israel. It's, again, this is all propaganda, linguistic tricks to make you think you're on the wrong side, to make you think you're not being moral, to make you think you're being anti-Semitic. It's completely false, complete bullshit. And, I think she's very smart and she knows mainly what she's doing, but some of it is so indoctrinated. Most Israelis are so indoctrinated. I know she spent some time there. She said in the other parts of the interview, she just got back from Israel. So they're so indoctrinated that I don't know how much of these linguistic tricks or manipulation they even understand that they're doing or that they're a part of, or they certainly understand that they are bombing children indiscriminately. I mean, that is tough to miss at the moment. But, and I'll just add one other thing is I've skipped the part of the interview where it's a kind of a long-winded explanation of she was in a debate on a college campus and she claims she got death threats. Now, I don't have any reason to argue with the fact that she got death threats. Maybe she did. And here's the thing. That's wrong. It's wrong to give people death threats. Okay, there, we said it. But she wants to set it up that way because she wants to make you think that anyone who criticizes her or what she's saying or this propaganda is threatening to kill people, death threats and shit like that. It's like, no, there may be some out there people who are legit giving death threats, and that is screwed up. I'm not down with that. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. But that doesn't mean everything else she says is true, because everything else she says is false. Okay, let's keep going here.
Anyone who believes that Israel has a right to exist. So now you are inciting violence upon anyone.
Okay, so she goes on for some more bullshit. You're inciting violence for anyone. So for anyone who believes that, anyone who endorses that. And again, it's this false, this false like connection between anyone who criticizes Israel is inciting violence. That is not true at all. In fact, I am pro-peace, and that is what has gotten me banned from so many outlets. And so she wants you to think anyone who criticizes Israel is inciting violence. Bullshit. absolute garbage. But the other thing is for a minute, and I'm not going to break it down fully because I think that would take a half hour. But one of the biggest tricks that Israel has used in their propaganda, in their Hasbara, is to say, you say we don't have the right to exist. Now, the reason they use that term is because if they accuse you of that, they accuse you of basically endorsing genocide, because it sounds like if you don't have a right to exist, if a human doesn't have a right to exist, you want to kill them, that's genocide. Wow. Oh my God. Why would you do that? Why would you endorse genocide? This right to exist linguistic trick has been used for decades. Any criticism of Israel is accused of saying Israel doesn't have a right to exist. Now, this right to exist thing, first of all, I'll get back to how silly it is from the outset. But even if we were to say, hold on, Israel has a right to exist, let's just start there and then we'll break it down. But Israel has a right to exist. Oh, really? Does that mean it has a right to commit genocide? Right to kill children? Right to bomb hospitals? Right to bomb journalists? Right to bomb UN workers? Right to bomb medics? Right to just obliterate a whole people? Right to send millions into refugee camps? Right to kill possibly millions or hundreds of thousands with disease? Right to kill thousands with dirty water because they won't allow clean water in. And, you just keep going down the list. Right to have thousands of hostages that Israel has taken, both pre-October 7th, roughly 5,000 Palestinians were locked up in their jails, most of them without any real trial or anything like that. And since October 7th, far more than 5,000. So thousands, tens of thousands of hostages that Israel's holding right now. They're allowed to do that because they have a right to exist. So this term right to exist is used as an umbrella to cover up all manner of crimes, all manner, open air prisons, just cutting off water, cutting off food, not allowing these people to actually have freedom, to have a right to come and go into their country, which apparently is a right under international law to come and go from your home, from your country, to destroy these people's lands, obviously with the settler system, which is what Israel has used to slowly steal land from Palestinians. This is even since 1948. So even if you wanted to start history there, which is silly, but even if you want to start history in 1948, since then, Israel has continued to eat away at the lands the Palestinians still had. And all of this is under right to exist. So basically, it is taking a very rational and intellectual discussion as to whether a country has a right to harm and persecute and just cause reams of destruction against a people, whether they have that right or that ability, or whether they should be prosecuted under international laws, or whether other countries should step in. It takes all of that discussion and it just shuts it all down. And it says, you don't believe we have a right to exist. You're basically accusing the criticizer of wanting genocide or wanting ethnic cleansing, when in fact, you're fighting for or speaking for the opposite. You're saying, stop the ethnic cleansing, stop the genocide. It really, the right to exist ruse is just, I mean, I get this. It's clever. It's an amazing idea. Whoever came up with it in their little think tanks or whatever, very impressive. And of course, they don't believe Palestinians have a right to exist. They don't have and like I said, Israel's using right to exist to mean all those other things. Do you think that, so Palestinians do have the right to exist? Does that mean they have a right to have an army? They have a right to come and go as they please? They have a right to clean water, right to clean food, right to raise their kids without fear of bombs raining down, right to have journalism, right to have medics, right to have hospitals? No, none of those rights. They have none of those rights. So again, it's a trick, and it really shuts down discussion. As you listen to her, and I've gone through 12 seconds of what she said, but if you were to hear a debate or you were to watch a podcast like this for an hour, you don't even have and I don't mean you, I mean anyone have the mental capacity to try and parse every single word of this shit. But that's what makes her good at it, and so many of those, who are the I don't know, not puppeteers, but the propaganda bullhorns for this crap. Anyway, I'll try and keep going, and I'll try and play more than 8 seconds, but
who believes Israel has the right to exist, which is most Jews and a lot of non-Jews.
So then she says, "Oh, but those who believe Israel's right to exist is most Jews and a lot of non-Jews as well." And what she's throwing in there, although they don't like to say it this way, is that there's actually Zionist is basically a term just meaning Israel should be as it is currently, status quo, and you endorse that as a Jewish state, and there are more Christian Zionists in America than there are Jews in the world, because Christians, I've spoken about it before, so maybe I shouldn't keep repeating myself, but there's a lot of evangelical Christians and even non-evangelical Christians who endorse Israel, and the evangelical ones believe that all the Jews need to be in Israel in order to burn in hell in the end times. So that's why a lot of evangelicals really support Israel. And then there's a lot of just kind of average Americans, low info Americans, who are like, Israel, yeah, sure, why not? They ally with the United States, so they're cool. U.S. government likes them. I like them. It's a lot of low information stuff. And that's why I've said that Israel is destroying their ability to have their apartheid situation by committing this genocide, because all those low information people who were just kind of like, yeah, sure, Israel's fine. Now they're all going, what is happening over there? Jesus, this is not cool, man. Not cool to kill 70% of deaths over there in Gaza have been women or children. And I know if you talk about U.S. military, saying women and children gets a little iffy, because there are women in the U.S. military, but there's really no women in Hamas. So saying women and children means 100% absolutely innocent. And then you have 30% that are men, but that doesn't mean they're all Hamas fighters. So we're talking what, 80%, 90% of those Israel is killing are just completely and utterly innocent and have not even worked with Hamas. Like, just so stupid. But of course, she's flipped everything on its head and acted like, Israel is the victim.
Too. So with that being said, on our debate, I came with the fact, she came with emotional screaming. If I were her, I'd leave humiliated too. And her and her vibe.
Anyway, she gets into it's the other thing I wanted to point out is it's anecdotal about her getting death threats after some debate about her getting death threats, but it's anecdotal. And so, like I said, death threats are wrong, but it doesn't say anything about the larger discussion of what Israel's doing, which is what I prefer to talk about, what I think matters. But she can use that anecdotal moment of, I got death threats, to basically say that everything she's saying is right, or like the whole anecdotal, like this bad thing. I mean, I've gotten death threats. I get emails telling me I'm insane and other threats, but not just insane, but threats. And it doesn't mean that something is right or wrong. It is wrong to send death threats. That's absolutely wrong. But what that says about what I'm saying or what she's saying doesn't matter. People are wrong at death threats. People are right at death threats. But it doesn't change whether the propaganda she's pushing is right or wrong. Okay, let's see. I wanted to jump to let's see, 1740 on her clips. By the way, everybody, please click thumbs up, click share, and if you were on Rumble or YouTube, please make sure you hit subscribe or follow, and then you also have to click the bell next to it, the bell icon. If you haven't done that, you will not get alerted to my videos. Okay, let's see here. 1740. All right. Oh yeah, he adds a little something here.
Because the Jewish people don't live in the victim mentality. Back to his point, Jewish people don't let.
Okay, the whole victim mentality thing is, I'm not even gonna spend much time on it. It's so stupid. It's a right-wing talking point. Basically, if you're, let's say, Black in a society that has systemic racism, you're not allowed to talk about it because that's victim mentality. If you've been exploited your entire life, if you're a worker at McDonald's who's been abused by your employer, or work at Amazon and they're making you piss in diapers so that you can get the job done, you're not allowed to mention that because that's the victim mentality. That's what a lot of these right wingers believe. But she's whether you believe that or not, I mean, if you believe that, you're a piece of human garbage. But whether you believe that or not, she's like, the thing is, we Jews, we don't live in the victim mentality. And it's like, what? So she's saying Palestinians do live in the victim mentality. They're being genocided right now. They've had I think it's almost 30,000 bombs dropped on a 25-mile stretch over 3 months, enough to make up for 2 to 3 atomic bombs, the size that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I think you can talk about being the victims at that point. At what point can you say we are being attacked, we are victims? I mean, I think that's it. I think that's the line. I think when you're being genocided and you've had tens of thousands of bombs dropped on you and your family and 20,000 people murdered in just a couple of months, I think you get to talk about being the victims. So this idea that like we Jews are not, we're not the victim mentality, and yet the Palestinians, their problem, they're talking about being victims. So much garbage. I mean, so you're telling me Jews during the Holocaust weren't allowed to speak of being victims? Is that true? It's a right-wing talking point that is vomit-inducing.
I mean, I'm not speaking on behalf of the Jewish people.
Yeah, you sound like you are actually,
but I'm assuming nobody should want to live in the victim mentality. Listen, the Jews went through the Holocaust. Throughout time and time again, the Jews are constantly being persecuted, and they always prevail, whatever the reason is.
But she just undid her own argument. We're not in the victim mentality. You're telling me we didn't talk about being victims during and after the Holocaust? Fucking yeah, we did. Of course we did, and we should have. We were genocided. That's a good time to mention it.
And the Holocaust was not even 100 years ago, and Jews are never looked at as the victims. And I'm happy with that. I'm okay with that.
I don't even know. That's just so stupid. You're telling me during the Holocaust they weren't looked at? Yeah, they were. Yeah, we were. And we should have been, because we were being victimized. We were being abused and killed and executed. What do you mean never looked at as victims?
But when it comes to like instances like these that we're seeing in present times, I've never seen an extent of anti-Semitism this bad. But
so 2 things. One is that has to do with the dilution of the term anti-Semitism. She believes any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism. It's not. And that, of course, is serving their purpose. But beyond that, the increase of anti-Semitism we have seen, actual anti-Semitism, not the bullshit they're talking about. I mean, actual anti-Semitism. It's about 99% due to the fact that Israel is pretending they represent all Jews and committing genocide. So if you're upset about the actual real anti-Semitism, then tell Israel to, what's the term? Stop it. Stop doing genocide, assholes. That'd be step 1 if you wanted to decrease anti-Semitism.
Now it's like, I don't know if we're not vocal enough. I don't know if we're not causing enough outrage. I mean,
I love the several times. I don't know if I'm going to play another one of these points, but several times during this interview, she talks about how I don't know why people aren't talking about it from, in supporting Israel. It's like, dude, 90% of all the mainstream media stories are pro-Israel or are trying to run cover for Israel. And that's gone on for decades. And now you're seeing a slight cracking of that facade because it is so aggressive and so disgusting and so repulsive that even the mainstream media is losing the ability to do it. But what is this idea that, if only we could get a few pro-Israel talking points out there? It's like, what? I'm here on the brink of the internet, the outer rim of the internet, trying to undo the billions of dollars of propaganda that is put out by our corporate media that has been pro-Israel, that has been pro-genocide, that has brought you that side of things. And that's where it's put me with, multiple platforms deleted, banned, and last week even TikTok kicked me off. That was my most recent one. So it's just like it's a reverse reality, and you see this with right wingers in a lot of things, like they call Joe Biden a socialist and all this shit. They create a false reality, and then they try and talk about how angry they are about it. Wait, why won't people? Why won't the media stand up for Israel? And why won't Biden stop being so socialist? It's like you've created a completely false reality and you're angry about the fake reality you invented.
We're not ransacking stores and burning down stores and
You mean Jews aren't beheading people?
No, we're not.
Okay. Let's pause there. Oh my God. Okay, so before I even get to the beheadings, which is the most ridiculous part of it, the ransacking store stuff, you notice how she says, we're not ransacking stores. Oh, well, so who are you implying is? She's implying that all Palestinians, and I don't even know which ransacking she's talking about, but let's say there is a Palestinian out there who ransacked a store. Do they represent this is stereotyping and bias and being a bigot 101. Does that mean they represent all Palestinians? I'll give you a second to think about the answer. Let's say there's a couple of stores that actually were ransacked, just to give you the benefit of the doubt. She probably made it up, but let's say it's real. Let's say there were a few stores ransacked. Does that mean the 12 people max who did that ransacking represent all Palestinians everywhere, represent all Arabs, or represent all Muslims? Or I'm going to say the answer is no. I'm going to say you could also point to the millions upon maybe billions of Muslims or Arabs who did not ransack your store. But again, this is stereotyping. This is racism. This is bigotry, all that stuff. Okay. Now, she and him get to have a moment of a lovely agreement there. I'm not saying they disagree. They don't disagree through the whole thing. But a moment of lovely agreement where they go, you mean Jews aren't beheading people? And she's like, yeah, they're not. Oh, I didn't realize that when a bomb falls and murders tens of thousands of people, none of them lose their heads. None of them lose their limbs. None of them end up in the same result of someone who's beheaded, which is dead. Oh, maybe Israel has beheaded in the sense of taken the life from over 20,000 people in 3 months. 70% of them women and children. They have killed the amount of people, the amount of children who are normally killed in modern battle, modern combat. The percentage of children is like max 8% in most of them. And these are the still horrific times. These are the proxy war in Ukraine. These are Afghanistan, Iraq, all that. It's generally come out to be 6 to 8%. In Gaza right now, it's 43% or somewhere around there. These numbers are always a little wishy-washy because they haven't counted all the bodies. Many of them are hidden under rubble and stuff, but 43%. So that's the difference between what Israel's doing as they commit genocide and modern warfare. Now, modern warfare is still always disgusting and gross and pathetic, but okay. So the other thing is they had that moment of agreement where I assume what they're referring to, I mean, I think it's very obvious. What they're referring to is, so Hamas beheaded people on October 7th, which there's not been evidence of that actually brought forward. I am not defending everything Hamas did. I am not defending hostage taking. So to say there wasn't beheading is not to say everything Hamas does is fine. I know some people do that. There aren't that many, but some do. I'm not in that camp, but there's been zero proof that they beheaded people, that they beheaded babies. The beheading babies thing all went back to one former IDF soldier who made it up. And most mainstream outlets have even retracted those stories. Even the White House had to retract where Joe Biden claimed he saw a video of it because he didn't, because it didn't exist. So they have this lovely moment of agreement that is based on just utter bullshit and falsehoods, just total nonsense. And they get to go, oh, yeah, Jews don't commit atrocities. If you're talking about Israel, and this Israel's not all Jews, let's remember that. But if you're talking about Israel, committing genocide, ethnic cleansing, their plan is ethnic cleansing. Their plan is to murder, kill, or remove every Gazan from Gaza. That's their plan. Like, the idea that this laughable moment where they're like, ah, ha, ha, Jews don't do these things is so stupid when you look at Israel's actions.
We're not causing global like violence. We're not.
Anybody else want to debunk that one? I mean, do I even need to spend any time on that idiot sentence? Israel, and again, she's conflating all Jews in Israel, but if, whatever, let's be clear here. Israel does not speak for all Jews. She doesn't speak for all Jews, and Israel does not equal all Jews. However, she's talking about Jews meaning Israeli Jews, and she says, we're not committing violence. We're not committing global violence. What? They are indiscriminately bombing innocent people every day to the tune of 21,000. What is it? 22,000 now. It's just, I mean, some of this is so easily debunked, and yet these dudes sit here and act like everything she's saying is fine.
Doing that. And that's not the right answer. But I think because we're not doing what other communities do, maybe they're not taking.
I don't even, again, whenever I watch these clips and I debunk them, some of them I'm like, do I really need to? Does anyone? And yet you have whatever, however many hundreds of thousands of views this video got, the people sitting there going, yeah, that's totally. Israel doesn't commit violence. There's no violence that done by Israel. And as she says, I guess since Israel doesn't commit violence, maybe people don't care as much about us. Oh, God sakes. Okay. Oh, by the way, in a couple of minutes, I'm going to continue with this. I also have a couple, at least one or two other stories that I want to bring you, important stories. That will all be at rumble.com/leecamp, as well as my locals page, rumble.com/leecamp. You can join me over there for free. It is free to watch there. Also, for those of you who will not be joining me over there because you don't like free content, that's clearly why you're not doing it. You can support my show in a bunch of different ways. This show is completely supported by you, but it is the end of the year. If you're looking for end of the year giving and you think this show, which I've been banned from so many platforms, I'm fighting to keep this show going every day. And it is a tiny number of you who think it's worth it to spend $6 a month that make this show possible. And you do that at leecamp.net. It will forward you to my locals page. Or if you're on Rumble, click the Join Lee tab. And when you get to that tab, scroll down to become a subscriber. There's two options. There's a big red become a member tab, which is free. And then there's become a subscriber down below it. Scroll down to become a subscriber. Support this show for $6 a month and 38 cents an episode. And that is what keeps this show going, even as I continue to be banned from every platform. So please do that if you think this show is worth it, if you think the truths I talk about are worth it. Okay, let's keep going, but in a minute, we'll just be at Rumble. Let's see. I wanted to jump to one other point. Oh, maybe I'm already past 18. Yeah, I'm kind of at that point, I guess.
Taking it as seriously. I mean, the fact that President Gay is still at Harvard is mind-boggling.
So they get down into the weeds on, whether they could get this president or that president fired from a college for saying something. And and she claims to be support free speech, but whatever. It's the attack on anyone who supports Palestine, and it's a careful strategy by Israel that's been going on for years. Heavy funding of tearing down anyone who dares criticize Israel. And they've largely succeeded at it. I mean, that's how you have these votes in Congress, 412-1 in the House, equating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, which is just pure insanity. You have 97-0 in the Senate saying they need to keep supporting Israel and sending bombs over there, which we've sent thousands of bombs to Israel to perpetrate their genocide. Okay, let's get to another thing. You may end up in this debate with someone who's talking about like the history of Israel, and the Palestinians have turned down all these opportunities, and she goes through a bunch of them. I'm not going to play her going through the list, but basically she goes through because it takes too long. But she goes through a long list saying that Palestinians have turned down every chance that they've gotten to make a deal with Israel. And so therefore it's their fault that they're being genocided because they have turned down, this agreement or that agreement. Okay. The rest of this at rumble.com/leecamp as I keep talking, trying to do it all at once. So she goes through this list and she said,